Yeah. Coronavirus. It's great. That's going to be the first thing. Hey, everybody, this is Dispatcher Mike, and I'm here with Dispatcher Greg. We're going to be starting the podcast here in a couple of minutes. Now, a couple of things. So I had this whole StreamYard idea about 30 minutes ago. Signed up and used it, figured we'd give it a try. So there's not going to be any opening music or closing music like there is on the audio version of the podcast. So just something I thought of. Thought I'd, give this a try to see if we like it, and if Greg and I like it, well, we'll keep it going, and we'll do other things. With that said, I need to look at one thing because I think there is feedback. We have no show notes. This is completely. That's just gonna be a good conversation. Two dispatchers drinking beer, talking about how great the airline industry was. Shit, I'm not recording up here. All right, recording.
So I know we have nobody watching, but when you look at the live comments, it doesn't even let you look at anything.
It does on my side.
Does it?
Yeah.
Maybe it's, I don't know. Maybe because I don't have anybody in there. I don't know. Whatever.
There was something back.
You should play the Aladdin theme. I see you have a whole new world.
Yes, it's, man, that's why that song got stuck in my head, because I titled it and I started singing a whole new world. And I'm like, why am I singing that song? Feedback with questions that came in on March 9th. So, somewhat recent. All right. Well, that's a lot. All right, we'll tackle that. All right, let's hit this show on the road. Get this doggy on the way. Yeah. God, I like this 2-monitor setup.
Cheers, man.
Cheers. This is the last of the good beer.
Yeah.
We'll be it's the last good beer. We're gonna be reduced to Miller Lite again pretty soon.
Yeah.
Stupid shit.
Or more generic than that.
Hey man, sometimes you just want a good old natty light.
Yeah.
All right. Flying Life Podcast, episode 57, recorded on April 13th, 2020. And this is where the intro music would be, but it's not there right now. So just imagine some nice clap and yell going on.
Hey.
Yeah, okay. It's 56, so I usually like 30 seconds of that. Welcome to the Flying Life podcast just about that, flying, aviation, and our lives. I'm Dispatcher Mike, a dispatcher for a major airline based in the United States. Also joining me is Dispatcher Greg, also a dispatcher for a major airline based in the United States, but he works for a different major airline. We call ourselves Acme, and he works for Acme North. So I think by the end of this, we'll try to figure out who our real airlines are, but you know what? We are not an official spokesman for our airlines, so therefore we fly for Acme. Yes, Acme. So, Greg, it's been a bit since we've done a show. February came. It was great. It was beautiful. Profit sharing. We were going through and running through like no problem, running thousands of flights a day with huge load factors. The airline industry was just rolling along. You went on a cruise. My wife went on a cruise. Everything was normal.
Fantastic.
And then March 1st happened.
That's right. Well, what happened March 1st? March 1st was still good. I was on a boat drinking my Corona or having my margaritas. It was March 9th when I got back from the cruise. It wasn't so good.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning of March, I just say March 1st happened because that's pretty much
when I discovered toilet paper was a hot commodity.
You should have stole some from the boat.
I should have. Yeah, it really went downhill, and it went down really quick starting March.
So, in case you're living under a rock or listening to this somewhere in the well future and don't know what we're talking about, this is the COVID-19 pandemic that has now swept the world and swept the airline industry, and no one is traveling. And it's just, well, it just sucks. I mean, airlines, in the course of 2 weeks, I know I at least saw Acme go from a large global carrier to a small regional airline in 2 weeks. We have parked so many aircraft. It'll be pictures in the show notes, possibly, if I do it. But we'll find some parked airplane pictures everywhere. Take some of my own and steal some others of things that happened here in Atlanta and what's going on over in Birmingham and wherever else in the world we have airplanes. Greg, what's Acme North doing? Because we've parked a crap ton, and we'll start with airplanes. How's our workload?
It's non-existent. So last numbers that I have checked, I think Acme North is running about 8% of its normal operation. And you heard me correct. Single number, 8%. Nothing international except for some very few South America flights. Most, if any, we do have some Atlantic flights going across the pond. Most of them are for repatriation flights and or cargo flights. That's pretty much, that's all that's flying out. No regular scheduled passenger flights. On the domestic side, it's at this point mostly hub to hub. A few oddball city pairs just to, get people where they have to go if anybody's actually on the flights. But the few flights that we are running, load factors are single digits, double, maybe 10%. I mean, I've been running some airplanes with, let's just put it this way, I have more fingers on my hand than I've had passengers on the flights. I mean, I've been with the airline now 23 years this year. I've been through 9/11. 9/11 was terrible as it was, but we were shut down for 4 or 5 days. I believe it was 5 days. But after that, people started flying again. Even then, we still had half full airplanes. So I've never seen it to this extreme where you just have nobody flying. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, is it profitable? Well, that's not even the word I should be using, because it's not. But is it even worth flying an airplane with 2 passengers on it down somewhere? You think about the economics, the fuel, the crew, everything that's involved with getting an airplane off the ground cost-wise. But yet we're still flying airplanes with 3 passengers on it, 4 passengers. So, yeah, it's scary times and a lot of head scratching as to why we do the things that we're doing. But, we're moving people and cargo. Cargo is our lifeboat right now. And thank God for that, because without that, we probably wouldn't have anything in the air.
Yeah, absolutely. To address some of your points, so the Acme fleet, we're running about 600 flights a day now. We used to be running 34 to 3,800 flights a day, so we're down to 600 flights a day. And there are 496 parked mainline aircraft. That doesn't even include the parked Acme connection carriers aircraft. So it's grim. Why are we still flying? Because doctors and medical people still actually need to go somewhere. The essential employees still have to go somewhere. We're still flying because most of the airlines have taken some sort of government CARES Act money, which says that we still had to keep flying. What'd you say?
Not yet.
Not yet. I know that my airline has put in for it and submitted the paperwork to get about $5 or $6 billion worth of government grants. So which is good. We as an airline are probably in a pretty decent shape of where we are on the pocket, the money, the cash at hand. You sent me a nice article that I hadn't read the whole thing yet. I just basically got to the thesis statement on our company and how we are actually poised to do somewhere. And I know we'll come out of this be fine. It's going to be the point where this is an unprecedented situation. My airline, Acme, had asked all of the all of the employees to voluntarily take a 25% hour cut, which means also a 25% pay cut. Us being a union group, and most of the employees at Acme are not union employees. They work for the company. So they all kind of had to do it. They were kind of voluntold to do this, and their managements were saying, "Hey, yeah, nope, we're 25% off. That's what we're all volunteering to do," and it's kind of like a mandatory volunteer statement. So we as a union this Saturday, our vote ended, and we voted 70-30 to follow the company line and go through and actually take the 25% cut. So it's good there. And then you know, and then I went flying today. Like, took the kids out, put them in our personal airplane, and went flying. And we had the fuel truck come, and the guy's like, "Were you flying for essential business?" I'm like, "Absolutely, it was essential for me flying." And my oldest son later asked me, "What about what we did was essential?" And I go, "It was essential for Daddy's mental health to go flying so he doesn't kill his kids later this week." Just a shout out to Glenn Tyler and the friend of the podcast and a good friend of ours who's a Oshkosh correspondent for us every year. Hopefully that will happen. So howdy ho, Glenn. Yes, currently you are a crowd of two, unless Greg's in the YouTube video, and then he's a crowd of one. But whatever. But yeah, so that's what's going on with us, and the everything we have. It just sucks.
So I'll talk a little bit about at our outfit with how we're handling things. So as of now, our company has pretty much said there will be no mandatory pay cuts and or furloughs until September 30th. However, that is all tied to this CARES Act. And I don't want to get super political on this, but it was passed by Congress that we were going to get this money as a bailout, not for the corporation, but for the employees, to keep the employees on the payroll until basically September. And part of that, in the context of that law, was that they weren't going to do any furloughs or pay cuts. However, one of the Treasurer Secretary has put a last minute clause in there that they want to do 30% of it as a loan and some equity stakes into the airline. So that's having some of the CEOs of the airline scratching their heads as to whether or not they want to take this money from the government. And I know my company has applied for it. And I know Acme has as well. But there's still some negotiations going on with the companies and the government as to how that's going to be handled. Because if they have to take some of that money as a loan versus a grant, it's obviously not going to put the companies as in a good of a financial situation. I mean, let's face it, they're not going to be in a good financial situation come September. But if they have to pay 30% of that back as a loan, it's only going to put the companies in a worse financial position. So, of course, now, it's all gloom and doom with what you're reading in the online, that there's just going to be that much more furloughs and that much more pay cuts to compensate for that 30%. And in my personal opinion, I know the industry is not going to recover 1, 2, 3. This is going to take some time. Even if this thing went away tomorrow, to get people to buy tickets again, to get everything back in a position and all that would be months. So I really have my skeptical thoughts about September. But in the meantime, what our company is doing is they're offering like a reserve type system. So they want to have as few dispatchers in the office as possible. So they're doing a lot of advanced no pay type stuff, since obviously the schedule is down so much. We don't, have to have as many people there. They are doing so basically like, okay, we'll call you if we need you to come in. Otherwise, you don't hear from us, stay home. You still get paid.
So you're
Okay.
sitting in reserve.
Basically, yeah. For the next 5 days, I'm sitting at home and watching Netflix. I'm still getting paid, which is great, but it's not great knowing what the end result is going to be. And then the whole thing, and I know that your company has tried it as well, and maybe you want to talk about this a little bit, the whole concept of dispatching from home and your thoughts on it. And I have my thoughts on it, and I can go on about it, but since you're a little bit more in the know of behind the scenes on that,
Yeah. So
what are
for
your
everyone that I think I've said on the show or not, but anyway, I'm in a new position at Acme. I haven't sent a flight plan in over 5 years. Um, I worked at the ops management side of the house for 5 years. And back in January, I took a position as an IT business owner for the dispatch side of the house. So I'm in charge of a couple of systems, and I was a key business owner of a lot of new development systems that we were running. With my knowledge of both being an ops manager and a dispatcher and a senior dispatcher, kind of really have the knowledge of how all of our operation works, which is a really great amount for the job that I'm in now. I have the ability to speak on behalf of the ops management side, on the behalf of the dispatch side, and really try to develop new products. So one of the systems that I own is the NOTAM system. I'm in charge of all of the NOTAMs that come into Acme Airlines and how we distribute them to dispatchers and pilots and all of that. That's my job. I am in support of that system. So with that being said, starting early March, my boss had the idea of, or was charged with getting a work from home effort up and going. And this work from home effort was basically securing 1,000 laptops, a crap ton of monitors, and the equipment. And for about 2 weeks, my colleagues and I literally sat down and got all the documentation and everything together to give this equipment to the whole operations center and go through and really just deploy it. Here's a monitor, here's a laptop, here's this, here's the cords and the cables. Go out, set it up. And we've done that. And we had a part where we were testing with the FAA for dispatching at home and allowing dispatchers to dispatch 121 flights from their house. And we had a couple of dispatchers that actually were sending flight plans from home with the blessing of the FAA as a temporary testing situation to see if this is something that we really wanted to go down and pursue, uh, with the whole social distancing and the lockdowns and all that. Now, aviation is, we are aviation essential employees. There's a letter in my car that if I was actually going to work, was allow me, if I got pulled over by a cop saying, "Hey, why are you out?" and go, boom, going to work, brother. Delta. Crap.
Acme?
Crap, I just hit the space bar. Son of a bitch. We'll fix that. So I have a piece of paper that's going to work that says, "Look, officer, boom, Acme, yeah." So, um, yeah. So, God, I can't believe I screwed that up. I hate that. All right, so we have that work from home effort. So we, as Acme, as an airline, decided to kind of abandon the push for work from home because we never thought we would get the AFS 200 in Washington D.C. That's the airline governing branch to buy off on it, and there was a lot more. There are a lot more cons to dispatch from home than positives. So now we are currently working as a split work group using both um, our current standard facility and our backup facility. And some desks are working over there, and some desks are working here. We were at a time doing a split and doing deep cleaning on both facilities, but now with the social distancing practices, we've spread everything out even more. So I am working from home. I'm enjoying working from home. It is nice to have a 90-second commute. Now, let's go ahead and talk about so the equipment. So when I work from home, I have a laptop and I have two monitors, and I have a VPN that gets me into the Acme firewall. And so all of that goes out and happens. And the way we run it, I can run any desk or position like I would as if I were at home, in the office, sitting here in this chair. We do have some operations managers that are working from home. They are critical people because of medical conditions, and the company said, "Stay home. You're working from home." And so we've done some work with them, but we have a process that all comes out. My desk phone in the OCC rings, my cell phone at home rings instantaneously. We have it all set up that we could work from home, and most of our non-regulatory employees are working from home. From my understanding, I haven't been there in a while, but from my understanding, all of the duty pilot, the in-flight manager, corporate communications, social media, all those people, from my understanding, are working from home. Our entire load control staff is working from home. So a lot of the whole airline is at home, and so it was pretty good. You spend a couple of days working on a procedure to give people hardware and equipment and a step-by-step guide, and they came back with only one problem, and I'm like, dang, 32 pages of stuff and steps to go through, and there's only one error. I call that
That's
a win.
pretty good. Yeah, yeah.
What I did to test it, because I was in charge of that whole thing, what I did to test it, I gave it to my 12-year-old and said, "Here's the stuff. Here's the directions. Let's go through and do it." And I called him a process consultant to my boss.
He's cheap labor.
Yeah, he volunteered for Acme. Now, for all of that, I mean, it's just let's talk about the pros and cons that we have of dispatching from home. I'll start. Pro, I keep myself safe and I don't expose my family from any germs out there. The OCCs and operation centers are shared phones, shared mice, shared keyboards, shared chairs, shared desks. We don't have our own stuff. It's all shared.
Yep.
So that's a pro. That keeps your employees safe. Now let's talk about some other pros. Good, easy to commute. You can dispatch in your underwear. All the same work from home stuff. You don't have to get dressed up to go somewhere. You don't need to wear an ID around your vest. Now, as people showing the video, Greg is showing a beer. Now, this is where the cons come in. Here's the big cons that we saw. There's no DOT enforcement of alcohol. there's no one. You don't have a webcam. There's no one checking on you. There's no way to see if you're sitting there sipping a whiskey on the rocks and hitting the send button. We're all professionals and we're paid well. Hopefully that wouldn't happen, but you don't know. There's no there's a DOT requirement. Dispatchers are a safety sensitive work group, and we require random drug testing. I got a random test a couple of months ago in the back office. I'm still a random drug test guy.
Yep.
So that's still something that happens, and it's a negative. Another big negative that we had is a power outage. What happens if you go out there and big storm comes through and boom, your set's gone. You have no power in your house. Now what do you do? And that happened to me on March 31st, a really busy day for us because we had a big desk project going on. And we had that in, I was out of power 11:30 to 4:30. And I had to buck up and go in the office because, well, it's got to get done. But as soon as I found out the power's back on, it was, I'm going back to the Sharpsburg office. See you later. So that's another big negative is you don't have the support. And there's a really big thing about a support system as a dispatcher and having other dispatchers sitting next to him.
I was just going to say DRM.
Yes, dispatch resource management. Gregg and I could be working for the same airline, both working at home and working similar flights. In an office, I know that he's getting buried because maybe he has a medical diversion and a mechanical diversion all happening at the same time. And if you're separated, a dispatcher doesn't know that. I could be here and he could be there, but there's no way for anyone to know that dispatcher A is getting their butt kicked and dispatcher B is sitting there twiddling his thumbs, and they're supposed to be sitting right next to each other. So there's that. We did have a phone rollover. I mean, dispatcher A is on the phone. The same logic would happen where it would roll over to other desks if we were working from home. So that process worked out quite well. But, man, it's just crazy. What are your other pros and negatives?
Well, so I agree with your pros. 100%. You're keeping yourself safe. You're not infecting anybody. You're at no risk of getting infected. Absolutely. You're protecting your family and yourself. The commute, 100%. Hey, that's great. And you know what? You're not spending money. You just go upstairs to the refrigerator and go get food. Hey, there's another pro
huge.
right there.
Oh, that's huge. My Starbucks, we have a Starbucks on campus. And, I was going to Starbucks every dang morning getting a sausage and cheddar and a Venti Cafe Americano.
Yeah.
Boom, here's $10. Boom,
$10.
here's
And the
$10.
fuel savings, even though fuel's cheap right now, right?
But hey,
it's a fuel. Wow.
I have a Tesla. I don't burn gas.
But that's where the pros stop. I mean, I as much as I would love to work from home, okay, I just think there are so many risk issues with the fact of working from home. You hit the nail on the head with the power outage. There's no redundancy. You lose your power. Now what? Hey, yeah, I could call my ops manager and say, hey, by the way, I'm at home. I have 7 flights in the air. Who's going to watch over them right now? Is there a plan in place for that? That's the last time I checked. The company had no idea what would happen if that were the situation. Or what if you lose your internet? That's the same kind of thing. Power, internet, whatever. But my biggest concern would be the whole DRM thing. And you had mentioned it. I can't tell you how many times at work where you get into a situation where you get logged down on one flight, you're on the phone with a MedLink or you're on with a diversion, something else is going on. And then I'll just say, hey, Joe, can you take care of this for me? Can you call this crew? And people will be more than willing to help you because they're right there. They see what's going on. They're willing and able to help you. If you're at home, there is no way for another dispatcher to know, hey, Greg's in trouble. Let me help him out, because and the workload associated when you have a diversion and who you have to contact. And it's just, there's so many complications that can occur with you being isolated into your house. I think that's one of the huge things that the FAA that'd be a huge stumbling block for the FAA to approve this type of technology from home. The DOT requirements with the drug and alcohol testing, yeah, that's another whole ball of wax. How do you regulate it? Okay, you can put a camera on, you can watch them, but again, my beer is out of sight. How do you know I don't step out of the microphone and just go, or camera, and go take a drink? There's no way to regulate that.
And what's to say that my workplace is my same as my home office? And what if I don't pick up my beer bottles from my desk tonight and I go to work tomorrow?
Yeah, right. And I've
heard, is that a beer bottle on your desk? Yeah, it is. It's from last night when I was doing a podcast with my friend.
I've heard some people counter that and say, well, what if they install a breathalyzer on your computer and you have to blow into it before you release a flight plan? Okay. If you have to do that for a dispatcher, then you got some bigger issues. But just like to start your car, you need a breathalyzer when you fail your DUI.
Blow before you go.
So, yeah, between the whole communication aspect, the redundancy failures, the DOT requirements, I really am skeptical that this would ever roll out. Now, that being said, my company has given out laptops to a number of people, and they told us, gave us instructions just like you have, set it up and test this and test that. And just like that, I was able to log into our company network through the VPN and all that. And it's all nice and dandy. I had my flight ASD on, where I was able to see all the flights and the flight planning. So the concept is great. I mean, would I personally like to work from home during this time? Absolutely. The other thing you got to worry about, and it's a very thin line, and of course we have unions that help protect this kind of stuff from happening. But if the company then starts saying, oh, well, if dispatchers can work remote, why can't we outsource them and have another company do our flight planning, such as Jeppesen? Or, hey, we've got people overseas that we can pay cheap labor to have them outsource. So that's why you got to have a good union that in your scope clauses, you got to make sure that that kind of stuff is only limited to a time of extreme national emergency, as in we are right now. So, so am I a fan? Yes, but will it ever happen? Probably not. And it is the case in your company. It didn't work out. Our guys are still optimistic that they think that this is going to work. I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, our brethren at what's a good name for this airline? Let's call them Pace Pecani Sauce. Barbecue Airlines, company based down in Dallas. It tried it just at the same time that we were, and they were actually a little bit ahead, and they just got told no, and that's why they stopped.
And meanwhile, in a time where we're trying to save money and trying to save any penny we can get, maybe start saying, okay, let's invest in other resources other than, this type of technology. Just a thought.
Yeah, it's another good thing too about the Acme plan is we purchased no equipment. It was all stuff that Acme owned in a warehouse. So it was free to us. It was all stuff that we already owned. We were just repurposing resources for a big growing airline.
Even better.
Which was a win.
Yeah.
And I know the price tag on the amount of equipment we had in the room, and it was a 6-figure number. No, 7-figure number. So it was, and then there was a lot of discussions of, okay, we're giving away equipment to all these people. We're literally watching this millions of dollars of equipment. We're letting people walk it off the door. What happens in September? And this is before the CARES Act and the September guarantee. This was still the point where we were still talking about what if we furlough the bottom 100 off the list? I mean, are we going to give the bottom 100 equipment to work from home or not?
It's a good point.
There's a lot of Those 2 weeks were they were at least 14-hour days. There were 14-hour days. It was constant work. It was hard. And then because we're saving money, all of my IT development stuff that we had going and I was working really hard on, we were going to make some awesome stuff with, helping with diversions and managing diversions and everything. All that just got within 1 week. All of our contract IT people were gone, and everything was paused. And there's no, there's one guy now supporting that whole system that we have, and it's like, and all of these IT people are that we like, you track usage on everything, and then everyone's like, well, all the usage numbers, no one's using this anymore because we're not flying anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, come on, seriously, people.
So one other thing I want to bring up, and really this is helping the airline immensely, is the cost of fuel right now. Right, fuel is dirt cheap.
I think
So
I think we're down to paying. I think we're last fuel number I saw. I think we were paying like 90 cents a gallon for jet fuel in Atlanta.
it's probably about the same.
And
It's a
that's
little
the
bit
same
more by
everywhere.
us.
I mean, we have a spreadsheet that has all of our fuel numbers that runs our tankering data.
Yeah.
And there's ways that we're saving money, but the fact that also that our airplanes are so light, we're not taking as big of fuel loads.
Well, and I was going to bring that up because the airplanes are so light. The diversion rate has been significantly, well, obviously there's less airplanes in the air, but so it's kind of a hard analysis here, or analogy. When there's weather or something like that, we're just loading up these airplanes. They have 3-4 hours of remaining fuel, and it's cheap. So the guidance from the company is, hey, load up the airplanes with the gas. We can carry the fuel. We're not bumping any revenue. And if there's any chance of diverting an airplane, just load them up with fuel, let them hold for an hour before they divert. So it's kind of a different mindset when we're releasing flight plans now. It used to be you had to justify every pound of fuel you put on that airplane, and now nobody cares. They're just like, fill them up. We don't want to divert the 4 passengers that we have on the airplane.
But it's kind of funny because we do still care, and we as a union have said, hey, look, Atlanta it's a ghost town. I think I said earlier in the podcast, if I didn't, I don't remember if it was before we were recording, or when I told Greg this, or you guys heard this already. I went flying today with my family. I took the kids out of the house to get them out of the house, and it went flying. And so we went out flying, and I live in the Atlanta area. Atlanta is a very busy airspace. As soon as my son had an iPad in the back with ForeFlight. As soon as that connected to the Stratus, that he goes, where's all the airplanes at? I've never seen so many no airplanes around. And when we went flying, we flew from our airport over the house up in, got a Class B clearance and flew over the top of Atlanta. Flew up towards SunTrust Park, did a lap around the baseball stadium. I wanted to fly over downtown. It was just 4:00 on a Monday. The highway that runs through downtown Atlanta is usually a parking lot. And I just wanted to see what it looked like empty. I mean, there were cars on it, but right now through downtown Atlanta, you could be going 80 miles an hour through downtown Atlanta without any problems and just go because there's no traffic. So we went flying, got the Class B Bravo transition on the way back. At one point, I did a sound clip recording and from the airplane, and I was gonna go ahead and do it on the show. It'll be at the end for the people that are listening on the audio. There will be a sound clip for me on the end. I think it was a good 4 minutes I had to talk about random stuff before I actually got the proof that I was actually on an ATC frequency. At one point, I was the only airplane that controller was working. in Atlanta, and
Wow.
he was working the entire satellites of the ATC facility. So, for those who don't listen to the great guys over at opposing bases, um, a satellite airport is an airport that is in the airspace of the major airport. For example, Atlanta. The major airport is Atlanta Hartsfield Jackson International Airport, and most of the controllers in that facility are working traffic into that airport. Well, but there's also all the underlying airports that do it. So they usually have 2 or 3 controllers that split up the rest of the airspace here in Atlanta to go ahead and really see and help those and work the other traffic. Well, this was one controller working all of the other airports, and I was the only airplane that he was working on at the time. There was no one else. Now that was, so he's working multiple frequencies. Normally, you don't hear other airplanes on working different frequencies, but you'd hear the controller go ahead and give the conversation and still give the control instructions. You just don't get the pilot's response. Nothing. It was dead silence. And like I said, for those listening on the audio only, that'll be at the end of the show. I'll put that in there. And it was good. It was weird. Atlanta was just a freaking ghost town. The parking lots at the airport are practically empty. You talk about the decline in traffic and all that. We used to put over 100,000 people through Atlanta a day, and we are down to the 17 to 20,000 range. Everything is just tanked.
O'Hare is kind of the same. Haven't flown over it, but I was driving past on the I-90 the other day past the airport, and normally constant flow of airplanes flying in on the 27s landing. Nothing. I mean, if I saw one airplane landing, and I was probably 10 minutes, I mean, nothing. It's just dead.
There's not been an ATC program, I don't think, since the middle of March.
Nope. Yeah. And no wind routes. When do you never see wind routes?
There's no wind routes either?
No, there hasn't been a wind route in, I don't know, 3 weeks, a month now.
The Nats. You see the Nat tracks?
Yeah, I worked the Atlantic the other day.
One track each direction.
Yep.
Like what? I mean, track. Did you file on the track, or did you file a random route?
No, I filed on the tracks. It just so happened it was the most optimal routing, so I filed on them. Filed them the highest altitude, 380, Mach 87 on my 7.8s. No issues getting their clearance.
Cleared as filed.
So
the 787 flies 87?
It go 87, 86, 87, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think they flew that fast.
Yep. They haul.
Our fastest airplane was always the Whale, the 747. That was always Mach 85. The 350 is also up in the 885, 86 range.
Those things can haul booty.
Still haven't been on one.
Me neither. In fact, this is my hopefully I'm still employed. This is my international year to do my route qualification jump seat ride. And I was thinking of going either to we're going to be flying the 7.8 from O'Hare to Frankfurt, and I believe Paris is flying the 7.8 in the winter. Anyway, so I'm trying to get on one this fall. My month to go is in October, so we'll see.
That's a great base month to have.
Yeah, because the loads usually aren't heavy,
and you still have decent weather in most of the world.
Yeah.
So when I was spatching, my base month was February. And it's a great base month to have for loads. I mean, my wife Naomi came with me all over the place, but that's a horrible.
But you know what is good about that time of year? And I wish like ski locations, right? So I'd love to take a route qualification ride going to like Jackson Hole, Wyoming, Well, in September, October, we're still not flying there. So, or at least
No,
not nonstop.
that makes a good point. One year I went to Mumbai, and that
Oof,
was nice because it was like 80 degrees in Mumbai. It was freaking awesome.
that's too long of a flight for me.
No, it was included a stopover, so it was a deadhead ride to Amsterdam. Spend the night in Amsterdam. Went out with a pilot friend who knew me from releases and stuff like that. And he goes, "Oh, you're gonna be in here? Oh, this is sweet. Let's go out to dinner. I'll buy you dinner." We had an Italian dinner. We had jugs of wine. It was wonderful. Got on the airplane next day. Went down to flew Amsterdam down to Mumbai. Uh, Laid over there. Spent like 28 hours in Mumbai. Toured around the city. Paid the cab guy, and then turned back around. And I was positive space business class all the way home.
Wow.
And if I could have, and I wanted to, I could have spent another night in Amsterdam and then continued on to back home.
Wow.
But Naomi was pregnant with Victor Andrew at the time, so I just kind of, headed back home. 19 and a half hours of a flight to get back home.
That's too long.
Well,
I was
stop over
I
in
know, I
Amsterdam,
know. But then
and
it's
you're stop over in Amsterdam, and it's positive space business class, which gave me access to the clubs. So it's 6 a.m. in Amsterdam. I've been up most of the, actually slept on the airplane, but my body thinks it's like, hey, man, self pour Heineken is nice in Amsterdam at 6 a.m.
I mean, granted, you don't have to sit in the jump seat the entire time, but geez, that's just a love flight for me. So I mean, well, but the stopover probably made it nicer. But
Yeah, it was great.
but
Let's go ahead and pivot the show and stop talking about the depressing things. We got any. This is kind of coincidental. We got an email on March 9th
we're late.
from Chance, and I'll go ahead and read it. I heard on a recent podcast that you don't get much feedback. So first, I want to say I love the podcast and listen to every episode. I love aviation news, then the topic and life section at the end format. It's been very informative, entertaining. You give an awesome insight on the ops side of airlines. Second, I have some questions I hope an answer. I'm 23. I have my associate's degree, and I'm at a crossroads and deciding what career path to go on. I'm seriously considering going to get the dispatch route and getting my certificate. I originally wanted to be an airline pilot, but after working at an airport in a while, realizing the costs and the constant time away from home involved in being an airline pilot, I decided against it. I think I want to go the route you're taking, being a dispatcher and flying GA for fun. I have a student pilot license, and I still want to earn my private and instrument rating. Also, being part of a flying club or owning my own airplane are definitely part of my plan. Moral of the story is that I want a career in aviation that seems to be a great way to get in. So, here are my questions. Number one, do you think the career path has longevity? As in, do you see it being a great job at 10, 15, maybe 20 years down the road? So let's start with that one. Yes. Even in this downturn and downtime, absolutely. Absolutely, I find it to be a great career. I don't foresee the FAA changing the regulations. We dispatchers exist because of FAA regulations. And I still feel that it's going to be a great career and it's going to be an essential career. Greg?
I agree. No, I agree with you. I think the landscape of the job is going to change. As they try to push for more single pilot and all that kind of stuff. So what we do today may be different in 10, 15 years from now, but I do think the essential role of a dispatcher will be around. It's just how we do it is going to change. So it's a very rewarding, and I would totally encourage you to keep and go for it.
Okay. Next question is, how realistic is it to spend a year or two at a regional as a dispatcher before getting interviewed and hired into a major airline position? I'll let you answer the Acme North way, and then I'll answer the Acme South way.
I think getting the experience from the regional is good on a resume. People have been hired without any experience. Sometimes if you're an internal, if you get a job, with an airline, maybe in crew scheduling or some other facet within the airline, and then, do a year or two, and then apply for a dispatcher role, getting to know people, that kind of stuff. You could get hired on as a dispatcher. So that would be one avenue to kind of get yourself in the door with an airline. So I don't know that it's absolutely 100% necessary to go through the regional route, but it doesn't hurt because it's all depending on who's doing the hiring. That's so.
And from the Acme perspective, I would almost agree with that completely. We have internal classes with no experience that we run through our own dispatch class and program to get their certificate, and then we have hired people from the regionals. Now, I will say the dispatcher Mike way of doing things, of only working at a regional for 6 months and then getting called up to working at a major, that's a fluke. That's an absolute fluke of nature, and I have no clue how I did that and what happened. I got dang lucky. I know people that have been at regional airlines for years. I mean, a lot of years, and they still can't get hired by a major, the major they want. So
So
now I will say at this time, it's right now, man, there's a lot of dispatchers out of job. And I will say becoming and getting hired as a major airline as a dispatcher it's hard. It is not easy to get the job. There's Acme being a global carrier, we only have 460 dispatchers on the list. We got 10,000, some 12,000 pilots and a crap ton more flight attendants. And I'm sure it's the same way at United. I mean, the dispatch job and dispatch function is an incredibly small world that you live in. And so getting to a major, I'll be straight up honest and say it's hard. And go ahead.
No, you're absolutely right. It is very difficult. A lot of it, unfortunately, and it's not just in the dispatch profession, it's just life in general, comes down to who you know, and sometimes that's just the way you get into these places. And a lot of people who have been in crew scheduling and I mentioned crew scheduling because it's an entry level position within a company. You get in, you do a good job in crew scheduling, and at the same time, you get to know people. You get to know the managers of dispatch. You get to know the dispatchers. You get to know the ins and the outs. And that's your ticket to getting in, I believe, as a dispatcher. And I'm a good example of it. I mean, I was at United or Acme North for
just say Acme North, and
I was at Acme North for 18 years before I applied. I got my dispatch license, and I got to know people, and that's kind of how I got the job, is because I knew the managers and they saw how hard of a worker I was. So I think if you could just look for anything that you can within an airline that's hiring, do your time, do a good job, and get letters of recommendations from your bosses, and you get to know people. And I think that would be a good way to get in the door as a dispatcher.
I would agree. Somehow get a job in the operations center, crew tracking, nav database we've taken a lot of nav data people into the dispatch. Even still, go get your certificate, go work for a regional for a while, get some sort of way into the door, and then understand the industry, and then go start searching major airlines jobs for some sort of job inside the office, and then get inside the office and bust your butt until you get until you get the job you want. Next is, how much does having an associate degree help getting interviews and getting hired? I have an AA and finished, and now I'm considering my bachelor's in aviation science. Secondly, how much would a bachelor's such as this help? Anything better you can put on your resume, the better. Yes. At a time, a 4-year degree was a requirement to get hired at Acme.
Yeah.
Same up
Same,
there.
same. You know, if you get somebody, if you and Joe Smith interview for a job, both have the same qualifications. You have a degree, he doesn't. Guess who's going to get the job? So it, you should have one.
Right. Number four is I see a lot of smaller operations like cargo operations hiring dispatchers along with regionals such as Allegiant and Republic. Is this more beneficial in the sense of trying to make it to the majors to work for a smaller company or trying to find the more established regional airlines like Republic or Allegiant? I figure it's better for the resume to work for a larger airline, regional airline. Mm, I say experience is experience.
Yeah.
You working for they're not in operation anymore, but Great Lakes, there was just small, little, very small micro airline. Heck, any of these feeder routes for FedEx, man. Shoot, if it was me today, I would jump all over dispatch for any of those feeder airlines for FedEx to try to get in with FedEx or get in with UPS. I mean, I've just learned recently that pandemics, cargo airlines have no major revenue problems with a pandemic.
I'll tell.
They have a lot of crew problems that they have to work through, but they have a lot of revenue. They don't have any revenue problems.
No,
FedEx,
they don't.
UPS, Atlas, Merit Cargo, all of them, they're overworked. They don't have enough strength. I think I read a thing that was like 45% of the world's cargo was carried on passenger airlines. Guess what? They're not flying.
In fact, Acme North is because FedEx is so overloaded right now. We're actually doing some of they're contracting some of their stuff out to Acme North, and we're doing some of the flying for them because they just don't have the resources to keep up. So yeah, it's right now it'd be a great time to get into a cargo
It's a
operation.
thing of beauty. Number five is what is a realistic timeline to get into the ops management side of flight ops and dispatch? I plan on having a bachelor's. So, man, all that depends. Some Acme used to have a 5-year limitation before you become an ops manager, opposed to being you know, just a regular dispatcher. I think I was right at the 7-year mark when I moved into ops management. I was a senior dispatcher at the 5-year experience level, but that was a lot of knowledge and a lot of studying that I did. There's a large the reason why I did that so quickly because there was a lot of experience and guidance, and I had worked with my manager to try to figure out how I could become and move up the quote corporate ladder a little bit better. And he saw potential in all of that in me, but it's really was you the more you know, the farther you go, really type of thing when you get into a company. If you are versed in multiple roles and multiple things, like I said earlier, in my current role, the fact that I have done so many jobs within the dispatch group that it's a valuable experience that I fully have a greater understanding of how our airline operates and how we touch our jobs interact and touch each other because we're all basically trying to do the same thing.
The only thing I would add to that, and that varies by airline. So at Acme North, seniority means nothing when it comes to ops manager positions. It's company select. I've seen people with 1 year get hired on as ops managers. And I've also seen people there for 20 plus years that have been trying to get into an ops manager position and can't get it. So it's
And it
also,
all depends on your personality too. And
yeah.
everyone talks about IQ, but EQ is a huge thing. How do you interact with your fellow people and all of that? It's all about your emotional
Yep.
side of things as well.
Absolutely.
And finally, his last question is, lastly, I know airlines like to hire from within, as we kind of said earlier. What other jobs are available to dispatchers to move them into other than management? I'm just going to say this straight up. The dispatch job is so coveted at an airline. Once you're a dispatcher, you don't leave that work group. It would be incredibly, man. We're the cream of corn. We're the cream of the top. It's great. I do you guys have dispatchers leaving at Acme North to go work in other parts of the company?
Generally not. I mean, we've had one or two that have um, gone into management, like senior management, into it's still within the operation group per se,
Right.
but not like to go to any other division or anything like that. You're pretty much going to stay in that area.
Yeah, you're not once you're in the dispatch job of the airline, you don't want to go to another unless you want to go be a pilot, maybe. But
Which we've
th-
had people do that, you know. But
that's I think of the other departments in Acme that I would go to, the only one I would go to was flight ops, and that would be as a driver, not in the office management support role, because you hit a glass ceiling if you're not a pilot there.
right, yeah,
So
I can't think of another situation why you'd want to, but
most of the upward movement as a dispatcher in an organization is going to be the going into operations dispatch management. That's the career path. You stay in the operation. You don't want to venture out of the operation. So there's that. Um so I think that's good. And Chance, thanks so much for the questions and the feedback. And
yeah, those are great.
I mean, this literally was the first feedback that we've, I think, ever gotten. Maybe there was one a long time ago, but
Come
not
on,
not
people, we need
not
feedback.
really. There was one more on Twitter I got yesterday asking if there this is from James. Any new episodes coming up? Curious about your take on the dispatching as a career, especially as the industry takes a downturn. Um, so so he's in part 60. He's in school. He's just finished listening to all of our episodes. Of course, I have plenty of time to do this these days. So much great info for us students. Thanks. James, it sucks right now. There are dispatchers on unemployment because their airlines closed. Shut them down. Compass is no longer an airline,
Air
and
Trans, or not Air
Trans
Trans, Trans State.
yeah, Trans States, they're no longer an airline. I have the woman who taught me how to dispatch back at Pinnacle, and I can't say it. It's Pinnacle Airlines who I used to work for. They don't exist anymore. That's why I can say it. But she taught me at Pinnacle, and she's now what she's called a free agent. She's happy about it, and she's a free agent. So she doesn't have, she got unemployed. She got laid off. And not just furloughed. She just got laid off because they closed half of their airline, and she was the duty manager. So, at these times right now, it's gonna suck for, I would say, a year to 2 years on the hiring front. Now, with that being said, my office, over half of them are still over the age of 55. I still will say that there is going to be a shortage of dispatchers as soon as the demand come back. I looked at the seniority list, man. I'm halfway up the seniority list. I'm over the halfway part. I'm more senior than I am a junior. There's over half the office is below me, which it's 13 and a half years. And so that's how much turnover that we have had as an airline, even with a merger and acquisition in my career. When we blended everybody together, there's still a lot of movement to happen on our seniority lists. And I still say that's going to happen because we're not just hiring young people. I think the stagnation of the seniority list that I experienced early is finally moving. So dispatchers and companies are going to be hiring. So I say it's still worth a shot. It's still a great gig. The regionals are always going to be hiring once they start flying again. But I honestly think it's going to be a 1 to 2 year time before just any airline hires again. Except if you're a feeder airline for FedEx, or UPS, or any other cargo company, or any cargo company in the world right now.
Right.
Cargo is you want to be a dispatcher and you're about to get your ticket and start your career. Look at a cargo airline. Atlas, UPS, FedEx, Americargo. Just Google search U.S. cargo airlines, get a list of people, have at it. Go start pinging them for jobs.
Absolutely agree.
So, all right. Well, I think my beer low light is on, and I do have to go to work in the morning.
I'm on
Basically, I'm
reserve, standing by my phone. Actually, I'm not gonna be called tomorrow. I know I'm too there's no open shifts and there's like 5 people below me that would be called. So I'll be off another day.
no. Yeah, it's crazy times that we live in. It's different and all that. So, those watching on the YouTube, we're gonna stop the show. Those listening on the audio only version, we'll go ahead and you'll hear a little bit of the feedback that I sent myself flying on the airplane today. It was nice to be out. It was nice to go flying. But man, like I flew over to Birmingham a couple of weeks ago and saw 90 Acme jets sitting on the ground, 90 airplanes all parked together. That's a big thing. And so it's a crazy time that we live in. So stay safe, everyone. Stay home, wash your hands, and
Social distance.
don't go shopping. Man, here's how I this is just for me. This is how my family is dealing with it. My wife and kids have been in. I'm not gonna say quarantine because it's not. We have been self isolated for I think almost 4 weeks. There's only one person that leaves the house to go and get food, go and do the essential grocery shopping. That's me. I use hand sanitizer before I go into a store. I use hand sanitizer when I get out of the store. I have started wearing an N95 mask because I found one when I cleaned out the detached garage in the shop. Um, so it's otherwise I was wearing a bandana. The fact we try to keep our germs to ourselves. These are our germs. Everyone in the family has the germs. I'm the single point failure for my family. Um, with that being said, my wife and daughter have gone out on drives before. I went and took the kids out flying today. We're still doing some stuff out of the house. Oh, we're taking family walks out the wazoo, um, which is kind of nice for me to get back in shape to start marathon training in June if the Chicago Marathon happens in October. But I'm going to plan that it is. Um, all of that being said, be smart. Don't just stay home. It's a couple of weeks. You don't like missing your family and all of that. Do a Zoom call. We did that on Easter. All our 3 major families went and did everyone was cooking Easter dinner. We were cooking Easter dinner. My in-laws were cooking Easter dinner, and my wife's aunt and uncle were cooking Easter dinner. We all live in Atlanta, but everyone was in each other's kitchens. We were drinking, and we were cooking Easter dinner together. That's how we have to do it for a while. So stay safe. Greg, what are you guys doing?
Same thing. I mean, um, my wife though, she insists on doing the shopping. She doesn't trust me in a grocery store. So she'll go. And when she goes, it's just her. My daughter or kids stay back. Um, Obviously I have to go to work and that's risky enough as it is. we don't have face masks at work yet. Although they do say that they're going to be start providing them. So, we'll see how that goes. But, other than that, I have been staying in the house. I will do my occasional walk. I've been trying to walk 3 to 4 miles a day if I can, depending on the weather. But yeah, I mean, it's just washing your hands and, keeping away from people. That's kind of the reality of the world we're in today. So that's what I'm doing until this thing goes away. So
Yeah. So.
yeah.
All right. Hey, if you're watching on the YouTube, let us know if you like the StreamYard. Greg, what do you think about the StreamYard?
Yeah, I think it's nice. I like it.
I think it's nice. Unfortunately, we're gonna be staying with the free version for a while, at least into June 30th when my salary comes back to full percentage. If it doesn't go down again after that. But anyway, yeah. So we'll stick with the free yard, but I like the platform.
Yeah,
I like it. It's nice. I like having the YouTube chat sitting right there. I like the layout of us, and I really like this extra monitor up here with all the recording stuff going on. It's kind of nice having extra monitors laying around your house.
yeah.
Thanks, Acme.
Hey, and everyone, keep sending feedback. Actually, that's very good if interactive and that kind of thing. So fire away.
Yeah, we've never done feedback on the show because we've never had feedback. So if you have any questions, anything like that, please let us know. And if you want to get deep in the weeds about a topic, if you're going through dispatch school and you don't understand what the heck an obstacle limited takeoff weight is, and you really want to try to help get some more, fire them out, man. It'd be nice for us to dive back into that good knowledge of goodness before. So, all right. If you want to know more about the podcast, you can find show notes for this episode on flyinlife.com/2020/57. I'm doing all this from memory, so my script's not with me. You can find us on facebook.com/flyinlife, twitter.com/flyinlife. Greg doesn't know his Twitter handle, so I'm not even going to ask. We're on the Insta with Flying in Life. But other than that, be connected. Send us emails. Contact@flyinlife.com is the easiest way to do it. So until next time, y'all be safe. And I might even try to put chapters into this episode. We'll see how busy I am tomorrow evening to try some more software. So until next time, see you later, everyone. I just hit the microphone. That's just brilliant. See you later, everybody. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Stay safe and healthy.
All right, recording's paused. That's
cheers.
Done. Woohoo! Woo! Dude, I can't believe it's 10 o'clock already.
9 o'clock.
Fudge.
Like I said, I am a bum. When I am at home now, I get up at like 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. I don't have anything to do. I sit on the couch, do nothing.
It's fun watching all my family members and friends growing beards.
I had one. I shaved it. You saw me yesterday. We were talking about the storm, and I had a beard.
Yeah.
I shaved it today.
I mean, like my father-in-law, who was a lifer in the Army, has a beard, and it's like, damn, Juan, that looks good. You got to keep that.
Yeah. No shave.
No shave spring.
No shave spring.
No shave spring, no shave fall.
So you didn't get any big storms by you, huh?
Oh, I mean, it was just wind. It was just a windy thunderstorm, but nothing like March 31st, man. That was scary as hell.
Yeah, I saw the storm. I was watching on the radar yesterday how everything just kind of went up over Alabama and northern Georgia, Tennessee.
Yeah.
What was it? Up in Tennessee. What the hell's the name of that city?
Chattanooga.
They had a couple tornadoes up there.
Yeah, I mean, we had a tornado warning just north up in East Point, pretty much right at the airport, just south of it, Hartsfield Jackson, And then we had another tornado warning just south of us over in Tomlston. So the really bad stuff kind of dissipated just as it hit my area.
Yeah, that's good.
But I was texting with other dispatchers. Everyone was awake last night. Everyone that was weather people. Man, we stayed awake until that crap came through.
Yeah. Did your kids stay up, or were you?
No, everyone was passed out, and we slept in the living room. We blew up an air mattress. Our couch is kind of like almost like an LU shape because we have a chaise and then a couch. It's kind of like it's an IKEA sectional. It was an IKEA couch that we made, a modular couch that we made that work for what we needed. And so we put a full air mattress in the U. So we basically had a huge bed. And my wife and Victor and Maria, so the two youngest, slept on the full mattress. My son slept on the other side of the couch, and I slept near, like, basically above the heads of of the kids and my wife. So it was fun, and I'm like, wait, this is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We should do this again on Friday and just watch movies. We watched Top Gun last night.
That's good.
I told my son Victor, who he wants to be in the Army because his grandpa was in the Army and all of that. And I go, Victor Andrew, welcome to your love of naval aviation.
Yeah, there's a sequel coming out.
Yeah, it was supposed to be in June, but now it's in December.
Yeah. That sucks.
Yes, it does. Crap. I lost my headphones. Don't talk. Yeah, exactly. All right, brother. I'm going to go find my wife. Kiss my kids goodnight.
Don't forget to get those bloopers out.
Oh, trust me. They're marked as we did them. Because,
I did the exact same thing. I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. As Glenn said in this chat room, he said, oh, look, another one. LOL, the second one.
I know.
Yeah, Glenn. Yeah.
Rub it in.
Yeah, rub it in. All righty.
All right, man. Have a good night.
Hey, we should probably do this again next week.
Sure, why not? I've got nothing better to do.
Yeah. All right. Good night, all two of you in the chat room.
Take it easy.
And maybe we can do like a normal format with news and stuff.
Maybe some good news.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, good luck. Look at it. I stopped looking at our load factor email.
Yeah, no. I haven't.
I've also stopped reading the duty director pages because that's also depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, brother.
Man. Later.
Alcohol all the way.
Do it.
See ya.
Ciao.
All right. Ending the broadcast.